afternoon, everyone. I am going to call to order the Finance and Economic Development Standing Committee. Um, Madam Clerk, would you do me the honor of the Chamber Emergency Evacuation announcement, please?
Yes. Upon activation of emergency alarm signal, all persons should immediately exit the building. Please use the exits to the left, right, or front of the council chamber or the east or west stairwell outside the rear doors of the chamber. Do not use elevators or escalators. After exiting the building, proceed down 9th Street and into the assembly area located in the former public safety building parking lot. Able persons should assist visually and hearing impaired visitors with exiting the building. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period or public hearings are generally allowed 3 minutes to speak. Persons appearing before the committee are now allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use language of a personal nature which assaults or demeans any person, including comments directed at public officials or staff members that are not related to their official duties, or address the question to staff members directly. All questions to be directed to the committee chair. Failure to adhere to the guidelines may result in speakers forfeiting any remaining time and further disciplinary action as necessary, which could include barring from attendance at future meetings of the committee for a period of 6 months. Members of the public who register in advance to speak virtually will be called at the appropriate time, either during the public comment period or during the public hearing for the legislation on which they signed up to address. Madam Chair, this concludes the announcements.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, Ms. Trammell. Appreciate you joining us this evening. And Ms. Lynch has made it known that she would like to join us virtually. We have a meeting, Ms. Jones.
Pursuant to Rule 3D4B of Council Rules of Procedure, Committee Member Stephanie Lynch has made a request to participate in this meeting via Microsoft Teams from her home due to her attendance at a virtual work meeting. The committee members present must adopt a motion to approve Member Lynch's participation in this meeting by electronic communication means if it appears to the committee that her request complies with the Rule 3D of Council's Rules of Procedure. At this time, pursuant to a Rule 4D of Council's Rules of Procedure, is there a motion from those committee members physically assembled approving Member Lynch's participation in this meeting by electronic communications?
Move for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to approve Ms. Lynch's participation in this meeting through electronic communication means. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Welcome, Ms. Lynch. Okay, Madam Clerk, we will have one agenda item to continue. Councilwoman Jones, would you offer a motion to continue the appointments to our committees?
Motion to continue board packet, applications to the next Finance and Economic Development Committee meeting.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward the board recommendation to, the committee is voting on the motion to continue the board recommendations as stated. Ms. Lynch? Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we'll move to the approval of the minutes, Madam Clerk.
The minutes to be approved are from the July 16th, 2025 Finance and Economic Development Standing Committee meeting. If there are no amendments or corrections, then those meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Those minutes have been approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will proceed with the agenda as it is listed in the package. We will take the two papers in regards to the tax rate papers, agenda item number 6 and 7, and have a joint public hearing on both of them at the same time. Otherwise, we'll follow the lineup. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll begin with agenda item number 1.
Item 1, ordinance 2025-100, to amend city code considering the form of the budget submitted to council to require publication of a side-by-side comparison with the mayor's proposed budget for the purpose of requiring submission of agency-level budget request documents. That paper is before the committee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Lynch, as the lead patron, did you want comments before we can move to the public hearing? He's not on? All right, Madam Clerk, we'll move to the public hearing.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 1? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 1? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Thank you. Is there a motion? You have any questions? Okay,
I move that we forward to full council.
okay,
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't have any papers, so I can't follow you with, and I know that there's some citizens here that,
I can't hear you, Ms.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just was, right now, we're on the one for $1.20.
No,
What-
we are doing agenda item number 1 in regards to having a side-by-side presentation of the budgets.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion to move this paper forward to the full body without a recommendation from Ms. Jones. I would just like to make note of the fact that we did discuss this paper a lot in the special task force that was put together as relates to our budget and budget submitted process. And the recommendation from the task force was for us to not move this paper forward at the present time, but to consider the new process that we will be using for the budget this year, and perhaps consider this in the following year with the budget after we have given this new process an opportunity to work. So I do not, and I feel like the recommendation from the committee is the most appropriate thing to do as it relates to this budget cycle. But you have a motion to forward it with no recommendation to the full body. I will second that motion with the understanding that there is a recommendation from the task force to not do this at this time. But Madam Clerk, call the question.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh,
Thank you. The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 1, ordinance 2025-100, to council with no recommendation. Vice Chair Jones?
aye.
Chair Robertson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
All right. So we'll have an opportunity for the administration to weigh in on this when this paper come before the full body on Monday. Madam Clerk, we move to agenda item number 2.
Item 2, ordinance 2025-187, to approve the work plan and budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026 for the provision of services in the downtown special service and assessment districts. That paper is before the committee.
Let's move to a public hearing, Madam Clerk, on this paper.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to item 2? Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of item 2? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
This paper is part of our budget process, which is what we need to approve for the downtown special service district. As a patron, I offer a motion to approve the recommendation of approval to the full body.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 2, ordinance 2025-187, to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robertson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you. Agenda item 3.
Item 3, ordinance 2025-204, to execute an amendment, extension of project period between the city and the National Recreation and Park Association for the purpose of supporting the ongoing implementation of the Mentoring Opportunities for Youth Initiative project. That paper is before the committee.
Well, administration, you have comments? Thank you, Mr. Ferranti.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chris
Thank
Frelke,
you.
Director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Facilities. This is a grant that we received from the National Parks and Recreation Association that was just stated. Part of the reason why we weren't able to expend all the funding is because last January, when all the federal funding was put on pause, this was caught up in that, and we weren't able to get the funds or properly plan for it. So they've extended it for us so we can use it, and it supports our We Matter program. It's very specific on how the grant is written, that it has to support our local parks and recreation agencies, and that's why we're able to apply for it and work with our national organization to do it. So we're excited they extended it for us, and we're able to use it for the rest of this year through next year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. The hearing, Madam Clerk.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 3? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 3? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to approve and forward to council. Motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 3, ordinance 2025-204, to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Agenda item 4.
Item 4, ordinance 2025-205, to accept funds of $125,000 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services and to amend the FY 25-26 special fund budget by increasing estimated revenues and the amount appropriated to the Help Me Help You program special fund for the purpose of funding the Help Me Help You program. That paper is for the committee.
Okay, we'll have a public hearing on this paper, Madam Clerk.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 4? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support of item 4? Support of item 4? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion.
Madam Clerk, motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 4, ordinance 2025-205, to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Madam President, I-
Yes.
I know I'm not on your committee, but I had a couple questions, but I guess I'll just save it for Monday.
I would
Okay.
appreciate
Because
that.
I don't, just one, okay.
I would
All right,
appreciate that.
that'll be fine. That'll be fine. Because I'm hearing different things. I don't see the whole thing here.
I-
But you know what? You agree.
It will
Thank you.
be back.
Okay, I will bring this up Monday because I fully
Thank you.
don't understand it. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 5, ordinance 2025-206, to amend ordinance number 2025-057 by increasing anticipated revenues from funds due to the city from the Virginia Department of Taxation in accordance with VA Code by $200,000 by creating a new special fund called the Disposable Plastic Bag Tax Special Fund and appropriating the increase for the purpose of funding local environmental cleanups, education programs designed to reduce environmental waste, pollution, and litter mitigation, and providing reusable bags to recipients of the SNAP program or WIC program benefits. That papers are for the committee.
We have had a pretty detailed presentation on this previously, but welcome the administration to come forward with a brief summary, and then we'll move to a public hearing, Madam Clerk.
Thank you
Thank you.
kindly. Hello, good afternoon. Laura Thomas, Director of the Office of Sustainability. Happy to be here in front of you, honorable council members, to present this paper. This is a partner paper to the other plastic bag tax paper that has already been approved by council. This does not affect that whatsoever. This is simply allowing us to establish the actual financial controls to receive and expend the dollars, and that is what the approval is for. I'll briefly note the estimated revenue is based off of per capita rates from other cities across the state that have already implemented this plan. So we're using the same calculations to get our $200,000. It would be we anticipate the first year being higher in the first few 6 months, and that is just shown what other cities have done. And then it reduces to that 200,000 for the full year. The intent is that in order to stay aligned with state statutes, the funds would be utilized to hire a staff member to implement programming around distributing bags to Snap and WIC participants, educating folks on litter cleanups, and the other regulatory things allowed per state statute. So that is what we are asking for in this paper. It's the simple establishment of the financial controls.
When do I get my crate of bags?
We have ordered them already for you.
I'm waiting for them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to item 5? Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of item 5? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Madam Clerk, motion to forward to council for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 5, ordinance 2025-206, to council with a recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robinson?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Madam Clerk, let's move to Ms. Tramble. I know you have several people here to speak, and I know that you have comments that you'd like to make in regards to both of these papers, and we want to make sure that we give you the amount of time that you would like for both of these papers for discussion. We have one other paper on the agenda, and what I would like, I don't anticipate this to take up a lot of time. I'd like to move to 8 and then come back to 6 to 7 if that works okay with you. Okay, fine. Madam Clerk?
Item 8, Resolution 2025-040. R040, to express council's acceptance of the findings of the 2023 disparity study and to request that the Office of Minority Business Development develop and implement a plan based on the recommendations of the disparity study to promote equity in the city's procurement practices and conduct a comprehensive minority business enterprise disparity study every 5 years, beginning FY 26-27. That paper is before the committee.
Any comments from administration before the public hearing?
Good afternoon. Pat Foster, Director of Minority Business Development for the City of Richmond. First of all, I would like to thank the city for taking this great step towards equity. The study did not tell us anything we did not already know, that there's a disparity in minority business procurement for the city. But what the study does tell us is, again, how big that disparity is. But more importantly, it tells us how do we close that gap in that disparity. And that's the part that we will be working on, because we already knew everything else. And so this gives us an opportunity to help close that gap and also give us legal basis for having our programs.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll move to the public hearing.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of item 8? Is there anyone that would like to speak in support of item 8? Please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Greetings, honorable council members, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Carol Reese, and my business is Resources. And I believe that the disparity study has an important message. One is understanding the internal disparities within the procurement department with the city of Richmond. Second is understanding the trauma and the tragedy of the businesses who were exposed to that. But most importantly is giving us a map to start from to fix the problem. So I think it's very important that it's released so that we can start, as Ms. Pat Foster stated, fixing the problem to ensure that equity is across the board. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Morris Cephas. I'm the president of Cephas Next Incorporated, and I'm in support of this disparity study. I've had the opportunity to meet with the CAO as early as today. It was an excellent meeting that we had. He also supports this disparity study. I've had the opportunity to meet with and speak with Ms. Trammell about it as well. So I hope that you guys will stand with us and support this disparity study and have some equality for all of us. Thank you.
There's no one else to speak in regards to this paper, Madam Clerk?
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in support? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Happy to forward this to council for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I will second that.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 8, resolution 2025 R040 to council with the recommendation to approve. Vice Chair Jones.
Aye.
Chair Robinson.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
All righty.
Madam President, I'd like to add my name, please. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll take care of that. All right, we'll go back now to agenda item number 6 and 7, Madam Clerk.
Item 6, ordinance 2025-207, to amend city code concerning the levy on tax on real estate and to establish a tax rate of $1.20 for the tax year beginning January 1st, 2026. And item 7, ordinance 2025-208, to amend city code concerning the levy on tax on real estate to establish a tax rate of $1.16 for the tax year beginning January 1st, 2026. Those papers are before the committee.
Sorry. Let's have a public hearing on both of these papers. People can come forward and speak in support and opposition to both papers at the same time. And we will follow up with additional comments from Ms. Trammell and from the administration as well. Ms. Trammell, did you want to speak before the public hearing?
I can wait until after the public hearing. Thank you.
All righty.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of items 6 or 7? Please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Felicia Boney. I'm here as a representative for the Virginia State Council of SEIU. I'm representing SEIU State Council. I'm representing 32BJ, and I'm also chapter chair of the Richmond chapter of SEIU Virginia 512. I'm here representing public sector workers, contracted service employees, security officers, janitors, and the backbone of the city's workforce, workers who keep the city running every single day. We're here with one message. Lowering Richmond's property tax rate is bad policy for working families. It threatens our ability to secure a living wage for contracted city workers, fund affordable housing and eviction prevention, honor the city's collective bargaining agreements with its employees, and more broadly, any proposal that reduces the total amount of money available to the city for programs, assistance, and wages is deeply concerning. At a minimum, if the city were to move in this direction, it should only do so with a clear public plan that proves it can fully fund its obligations to workers and residents, including wages, housing, public services, and collective bargaining commitments. Right now, city contract workers, janitors, security officers, sanitation crews are still fighting for a $20 an hour living wage. Our housing crisis continues, rents are rising, evictions are happening, and too many families are struggling just to stay in Richmond. And yet, we're being asked to accept a tax cut that would reduce the city's ability to respond and primarily benefit those who with the most valuable property. That's not equity. That's responsibility. And that's not acceptable. We oppose any reduction to the property tax rate that does not come with a full, transparent plan to meet the city's existing obligations to its workers and residents. Until every city worker earns a living wage, until the collective bargaining agreement is fully funded, Until families are housed and services are stable, Richmond cannot afford to give away the revenue base. Working people built the city. Now it's time
30
the city
seconds.
works for them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
Is there anyone else that would like to provide comment in opposition to items 6 or 7?
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Blow. I'm going to ask you to forgive me for my voice. I had a bout with cancer. So, with that being said, I'm in the opposition of raising the taxes. The city is owed $31 million from people who have not paid their personal property taxes. We need to collect that money. I live in the 8th district, and it's probably one of the poorest districts in all of Richmond. That increasing the tax rate will put an undue burden on the seniors, primarily the older people, the elders of our community. I understand that you need money to operate. However, in the last year or so, it seems to me there has been a lot of waste and mismanagement of money done by the city of Richmond. First of all, collect the money. And then let's move to run the city more efficiently. I'm sure you all agree. Now, I have met the new CAO, and I have some confidence that he's going to be doing that. And I really have. But to keep increasing the burden on our seniors without collecting the $31 million that is owed to us, to me, does not make sense. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Hens. I am a senior. And at this point, with them raising up the real estate taxes on my home, not along with food, utilities, I moved to Richmond 19 years ago so that I can afford a house on my own income. At this point, it's the first time that I have considered leaving Richmond, not moving to Chesterfield, not moving to Henrico, but just leaving the Virginia area altogether. It's not fair that I have to, as I say, rob Peter to pay Paul and borrow from Mary. This is disgusting. They're raising up our real estate taxes and our services are going down. Again, my name is Cynthia Hens. I live in the 8th district. I'm so appalled to this. Why won't they help the seniors? Why won't they help the 8th district, the whole city of Richmond? We need help. We don't need them to burden us with their problems and their losses. Come together. Find out where all of this money is going for our bills, water, sewer, electric. It's unfeasible that every month I have to call to my family in New York City for help. I shouldn't have to do that. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Donald Bryant. Donald Bryant. I'm here to support the tax, not to support it. I agree with the 116. I'm retired. It's hard to keep up with it. I'm the only one there. And I just think we need help. I live in the 8th District too. I've been there 64 years. I never seen it go at this side. You know, we ask for help all the time. We try to make the neighborhoods better. We try to look for all the crimes and everything. But when you ain't bringing so much money home for Social Security, when you ain't bringing so much money for nothing else home, you need a break. Like on our water bills, our tax bills and everything. It's pretty high when you go up like that. I only just asking, can we just cut it down a little bit to help us? I report, Mr. Trimble, thing. And anything y'all can do, we would appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else physically present that would like to speak in opposition to items 6 or 7? Is there anyone that would like to speak in support in items 6 or 7? We do have a virtual speaker online that signed up prior to the 10 a.m. deadline to provide comment for this piece, the papers that have been called. Is a Crystal Jordan.
Yes.
You should be able to provide your comment.
Okay. My name is Crystal Jordan. I live in the 8th district. Are you all able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I purchased my home through the Housing Opportunities Made Equal. Sorry, I'm a public servant. I work in a school. Things happen. And at that time, to be a part of that program, you could only make $40,000. Our homes were assessed at $149 at that time. At this time, they were being assessed at $316. If you raise the rate of the taxes, our home values have also gone up. So if the tax rate is 116 and the assessments are still high, and I believe they're too high, you're still going to make up that deficit. For the people who spoke today, I do believe there's a policy. If you're 65 and older and you fill out the forms, there's tax relief there. So I just wanted to share that. And then, but my ask is that we reduce the tax rate. My other ask is that we consider reducing the tax responsibility for those who work and live in Richmond, because 4 out of my 6 neighbors who participated in this program, they have moved because the taxes were too high. And so with them, because we were all supposed to be civil servants, they took their services with them. If I leave, I am a valued educator in RPS, as well as my retired neighbor and my husband. And so if we leave, we are going to take those resources with us. But I take pride in working and living in my community and supporting the students of RPS. I also ask that this committee consider, and I don't know if it's for you to consider, but if anyone is a part of a program like Better Housing Opportunities, the Hope 6 grant, if there could be some type of mortgage control similar to what is in New York, where they have rent control that helps support its citizens with the unfair increase in rate for rent. But just to give you some real numbers, this year I was asked to pay $4,000 with an also $2,000 to go to escrow. My assessment came back with a 12.6% increase, and so I am going to have to come up with even more money for this new tax rate with the $1.20. I don't know. I'm really struggling with whether I should stay or move. As someone already
30
spoke about
seconds.
the services, the water in Richmond is higher. The taxes are higher than the surrounding counties, and they are receiving better services with the improvement of building new libraries, improving the fields for their schools. There's a plan for using that money. And so we really do need to be strategic. And I welcome speaking with anyone if you want to see the increase of my property value and tax rate.
That is your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. At this time, Madam Clerk, is there anyone else that wants to speak from the public hearing?
No, ma'am.
All right.
Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
All right, then we will go back to ordinance number 25207. Mr. Donald, would you present to the body on behalf of the mayor for this paper, and then that will be followed with comments from Ms. Trammell. And back to the committee for discussion.
All right, how y'all doing this afternoon? I appreciate you having me for today. I'll tell you, I think that our position, and one, I understand the feedback from some of our residents because costs are continuously increasing around the city of Richmond and really around the country and urban communities. And so hearing their feedback is important. But I do also want to highlight that, we're talking about tax increases, but this is actually a part of our proposed budget. And so what we proposed in the budget is the 120. That's the number that we utilized. As a matter of fact, we'll be releasing that information shortly. The city received an award for the quality of the budget that you presented. We'll be announcing that today that you received from GOFA. The reason why that's important is because our budget plan is something that we should make sure that we're sticking to, especially with the things that are coming forward for us. I have some, and if you would, I don't know how much time I have, Madam Chair, but I wanted to go over a few items that I think are important, both to educate the public, but also to just kind of make the point of why the 120 is something that I think the administration supports. Do I have about 5 minutes?
You can take as much time as you would like.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Just
I'll be.
remember that we will take equal amount.
Yes, ma'am. And so I'll be very quick, or as quick as I can be. First thing, just kind of highlighting that, everybody's tax pie and the cost are going up, including those for the government. Like most localities, our cost to deliver services is really focused on the general fund. And so these tax revenues make up about 60%. I think it's 57.5 or something of that nature, but about 60% of all of the funds and resources that we receive come from these property taxes. Other taxes are the second largest category, and so that's 21%. And so we'll be talking about how we do it, but in the future, my focus is to make sure that we try to coordinate the delivery of services without doing it on the backs of our taxpayers. And so that would mean a little bit of a different mix. Have not figured that out yet, been here about 2 months, but trust me, it's a part of what the plan is to do. In addition to that, we get about 12% of our funding from the federal government as well as from the Commonwealth. That's important because based on today's political environment and the activities that we've seen, those numbers are going down. What that means is there is less money in the pot, in the pie for us to be able to deliver services. I think the other piece is really quantifying what we would be losing if you were to make this reduction. So remember, your budget is based off of the 120 or the $1.20 that is in the plan. So that is equal to about $4.3 million a penny, which is about $17.3 million that you would be taking out of the budget plan. That means that, the amounts that you were planning for the collective bargaining agreements and how we pay our staff, that puts pressure on those dollars. It also puts pressure on when we're talking about building sidewalks and making sure that folks can walk through some of our most challenging districts. It means that the impact on our water quality, all of those things, this reduction has an impact on at least the general service portion of those. But it also would likely remove about $50 million out of your capital improvement plan is what the projections that I've received are. So through your bond funding. It's also important to note that the real estate rate has not been changed for the past 18 years, since 2008. And that is because the cost of services continues to increase. So what the city of Richmond has done, which again, I think is a wise and prudent move, is kind of balance the needs of our taxpayers with the needs of service delivery. And so we are hoping that we continue to do that. I had an opportunity to talk to my good friend, Clarence Anthony at the League of Cities, and just highlighting that all cities are facing some of these challenges. And not only is reducing the rate going to cause us some challenges in our day-to-day service delivery, one of the things that Richmond knows very well is when emergency issues come forward, it also hinders our ability to respond quickly. I think we just had an issue where we had to respond to legislation that happened at the state level, for which we were creative and found a way through. There's not a multiple time solution that we can do. In addition to that, I mean, I think you know about the water crisis. I think we all kind of heard about it if we didn't experience. Y'all lived it. And so that is another issue for which, cities, I think what he told me was 1 in 4 cities report, being not very prepared for challenges. I think we're kind of in the same boat, having the resources necessary if we have a 20-inch water main break, or if we have, one of our retaining walls go down, or if a tornado runs through the city, how do we recover? Is there funding and resources available? Reducing our budget plan does not help us do that. I think the other piece that I would just also highlight is we have to be prepared for what's happening in the future. The assessment freeze is coming. And so as you freeze your assessments, you're also freezing the resources that are available to you and not giving those an opportunity to grow. I don't think that's a negative thing. I do think it's something that as we prepare, we have to be focused on. And then I'll close with just a couple of things. Our debt service cap here is one of the smallest that I've seen. And so we see that the debt service is increasing every year, and the room in our cap becomes smaller and smaller. The debt service right now, without any additional borrowing or any other activities, is projected to increase by about $4 million between FY26 and FY30, with repayments coming through. In short, I'll continue by just jumping to healthcare costs. Our healthcare costs are increasing quite a bit as, we make sure to balance and maintain our workforce. We got to make sure that they're healthy, and the cost of healthcare is increasing dramatically. I think you heard about collective bargaining. Well, let's just put $1 to it. Well, I think it's important that we take care of our employees in the same way we expect them to take care of our residents. We have to know that the average yearly increase is about $29 million. It's not a small penny. And so we want to be able to maintain those commitments that in your wisdom you've made with our employees. And so I mentioned the CIP. I think the final thing that I would just say is, we have to be really honest, is that lowering this cap does not support existing services. It actually makes them harder to deliver. It's no secret. We got pressure on our money. It is not a easy path forward, but I think we can chew gum and walk at the same time and make sure we take care of our employees, deliver excellent services. But the only way we do both is by having enough resources to deliver. So with that, I will end my comments and answer any questions that you might have.
We will have questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jones, do you want to ask your questions now? Okay. Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for that information, Mr. Donald. And I guess for me, it's a twofold situation. One, as someone who also supports a district that has been historically underfunded, how do we make, or is there an opportunity for you all to present us with a side-by-side, case-by-case of what we are actually saving at the rate at 120 and what it would look like at the rate of 116? And then my other question is, who determines, what gets funded? Because when we begin to talk about if we cut the taxes, that's a $17 million loss, and then you name collective bargaining, and all that. And of course, we all are people first, but who determines what gets cut? Because it's always this like chicken and egg instead of like, those are not the only things we can cut. And so why or who determines that that's the immediate cut if we cut out 17 million when we have other places to cut?
Got it. Yes, two questions. So the first one was the side by side. And so one way to do that is just pretty easily your current budget plan, the budget that the council passed, that's actually based on the 120. And so the 116, those numbers are very easy to see because it's based off our budget plan. That's also based on the anticipation of receiving taxes. So all of that money just isn't in the bank. You know, you have to actually receive those funds. And then so you're depending on hoping you get that 94% collection rate, bunch that goes into it. But in short, your plan is around the 120. So everything that you fought to get into that budget is something that has to be considered on the chopping block. The reason why I mentioned the piece around, people is because the majority of your budget, I don't even have to dive into it and look at the budget. And I bet you a dollar versus a dozen donuts that about 60% of all of our budget goes towards personnel. It's the largest number. And so when you look at where you cut, at some point, it ends up impacting that group, whether you're able to fund the personnel for which you've had planned. And again, if 60% of our budget is based on personnel, that means that 60% of our service delivery, at least, is delivered by people. And so you're cutting one or the other, people or services, when you reduce. And so one thing that we have, and I've had to do this in other places, and we should do it here. Don't know how much capacity we have because, decisions have to be made, but it will be a part of our budget process going forward, is really showing the impact. Because I think I had a chance to talk to some of these folks here, really smart, dynamic people, and they understand the challenges that the government faces is how much does it cost the individual customer or citizen versus the city. Because when we make those decisions, we're pulling it out of our budget all at one chunk. But going from 120 to 116, the impact on an individual person might be the difference of $34 or something nominal. That I think if a person had to choose between having their garbage picked up on time or paying $34 or getting $34 back, and then their garbage collection becomes, unreliable, probably gonna choose the $34. And so that's that type of thing. I think we have to do a better job of educating folks on what the true impact is, because it's very different for the city who collects 200,000 of those $34 versus the individual customer who is delivering that. I think that was the one piece, the side by side. Your second question was on, is there a better process or who decides or who makes that decision? So once you make the decision, which I hope is to maintain that dollar amount, but if you made the decision to cut it, then the administration is going to be forced to figure out how do we make more with much less. You already are trying to make more with less, which is what you do every budget, but now you would have to make much more with less. And where are those cuts feasible? You have so many commitments as a council, as a mayor, as a city, that there is no good option to cut from your budget plan. And so I think Councilmember Robertson, as a part of the budget team, and you as a strong advocate for both your district and the city, have both put the onus on me and others to say, hey, we've done this budget at the 120, but I'm expecting a more inclusive process so we can make a better, more informed budget moving forward, which is why, again, I'm strongly advocating for the 120 to give us an opportunity to show improve, but also to make sure that we're all included in the development of the budget going forward.
Madam Chair, one more thing. And then the other question is, so when we talk about the side by side, or you mentioned a lot about to the average citizen, what their return might be on this savings based on the cut versus what somebody else. Is there a way? So when you talk about the budget book and all that, like the people that I serve, we need it in layman terms.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there a way to be able to say, hey, with this $1.16, this is what you're saving? Or is there a way, and we asked this last year, how can you all, how do we be transparent in what, like we kind of be very vague about, well, this group is going to get this or this group is going to get that.
Follow.
I would like to see what those numbers look like so that we can communicate with our constituents and our residents so they also understand. It's one thing to advocate for a tax cut, but they also need to know where those savings are, what they look like, and how it is impacting them. And I don't think we do a good job at that. So if we could really get some information on what that looks like based on both of the rates, I would greatly appreciate that so that when we're having these conversations, folks know also what they are advocating. You advocated for the cut.
What you fighting for.
But at the same time, this is how it's going to affect you and your household. And then the other piece was that, and I don't even want to talk about that. I'll wait till we move to like full council on any like options.
Well, so here's because I don't overpromise and underdeliver. If I say I'm gonna do, I think you even heard them folks say I kept my word. They ain't met me but twice. They asked about something one day. The next time we met, they got it. That's kind of how I move. You ain't gonna make me out to be no liar. I'm gonna make sure we do what we say. So the first thing is, it's kind of tough to do that like on the back end. So you already have a budget plan. That's why my advisement is to stick to your budget plan at the 120. But what we should be doing as a part of our budget development and our presentation to the public is to highlight what you get based on these decisions that we have made. So what is the cost at 120 per household, a home that costs $100,000 versus $300,000 versus $500,000, and what do people pay? And then how does the city receive those funds? On the back end, that's kind of tough to do, especially as you're trying to build a budget and the hundreds of other requests that the council has, related to our activities. It's also changing the plan and after you've already developed it when you're not even 1 month within the budget. I think we really have to do that on the front end, which is why the budget process that Councilmember Robertson was talking about is important. And then I would just close with, when we look at the differences between those two, our plan is based off the 120. It is not possible to, in advance of making the decision, identify the cuts, because you got to look at, especially you're going to be making this decision in like a week or two. There are two things that occur. The first thing is you decide what happens. You got to figure out how many people you've hired. You got to figure out what services have started, which ones can you actually cut because they haven't begun yet, which is also going to disappoint and frustrate people because something they were expecting no longer comes down the pipeline. That's one piece. But then the second piece, we have to look at, what does implementation look like? The last time when y'all reduced the tax rate and people got this rebate or whatever, we made a really big deal that people got their bills late and, they were inaccurate. But that's also because we had a plan. And then in the midst of implementing it, we changed the rules of it and said, implement this by this date. And so what was well-intentioned actually became an even bigger problem. And so these decisions can't be made in a vacuum. I think sticking to your budget plan now is what is required and necessary. And then as you move forward in the budget, you make adjustments. That's my position, but always bend to the will of the council.
So even though the rate, last question, I'm on one of your numbers today. So even though the rate has been the same, and when we create our budgets, we're forecasting and doing whatever, we're doing that based on the rate. So what is the challenge? I get where you're saying, like, we've already adopted the budget with the 120, but we've been at that rate for a very long time. So when we are budgeting at that rate, we kind of already know what services, you named them, like collective, but we already know. So I do think that there's a way that, well, I don't know. I can't say I don't think it's a way. I guess I'm asking, is there a way that we can just look at it beforehand? Because I feel like we know.
Going into the budget is different than being in the budget.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just like you have if you make $1,000 a month, you got a monthly budget of $800 a month, and you're going into the budget and cost increase. I heard the young lady mention, hey, my tax amount went up or is projected to go up a little bit. Means that someone is forced to make an adjustment. Well, it's the same thing with the city. Right now, our federal dollars are being reduced. It's projected that from the federal side, we might lose about $10 million. We're trying to find out exactly what that is because the ink is not dry on all of the decisions that are being made. But that means, based on our budget plan, we have to reduce something. We have to make an adjustment in our services as we move forward. The cost of services goes up every year regardless. Now that we'll be getting less support, definitely from the federal government and potentially the state, we have to be able to calculate that and understand those things. Right now, we can't do that because we're in the midst of our plan. So that's why I'm saying it'll be much easier for us to project the impacts as we move forward versus making a decision to change course in the middle of our activities. And look, man, I'm going to keep it 100 with you all the time. Let me just do that. We don't want to have to increase taxes on the backs of our taxpayers. Not what we want to do. And so that's why, and surely nobody else since 1998 has wanted to do that either. That's why they've stuck with the 120. It hadn't been an increase. It's been that marginal piece when the values of the homes increase so that you can keep pace with the increased cost to deliver services. You just move forward a paper that has to do with the disparity study. The reason you're doing that because you want to make sure that those folks who've experienced the disparity have more access to resources that will help even the playing field. If you're reducing the tax rate and the resources that are available, you're actually giving less of an opportunity. I think we got to look at it holistically. And I guess that's what I'm saying is that asking me to just pick this one piece as we move forward is just tough.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Donald. I have comments and some questions as well, but at this time, I'm going to allow Ms. Trammell, who is the lead patron on the paper. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I'm sorry. Ms. Lynch is online and she appears to want to provide some comments.
Okay.
Should I stand here?
I yield to Councilmember Trammell if you want to go first, Reva. Sorry.
If I understood you correctly, Ms. Lynch, you're saying we can have comments from Ms. Trammell, and then you will also have questions for Mr. Donald as well as comments in regards to Mrs. Trammell as well, perhaps.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Trammell, Mr. Donald, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I want to thank my citizens from my 8th district for attending the meeting today. There were hundreds and hundreds that have been calling me that did not have a way to get here, did not know the meeting was like at 2:00 in the daytime when they have doctor's appointments, dialysis, and all of that. I just want them to know that, as they said to me, since last Thursday, we voted for you to be our voice. We voted for you to come to those meetings and speak for us, even though we're not able to always get there. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for coming. Even Cynthia, that had a doctor's appointment, she made sure she was here, even though she had to be late for her doctor's appointment. I don't understand something. It was Governor Wilder back I guess, in 2008, that reduced the real estate tax from $1.47 to a dollar, and now it's $1.20. That's 27 cents. Back in those days, I couldn't even get a developer to come in my district to even return my phone calls. And I mean, I used to see Greg Winfield stand up there and I would just about yell and scream, how come you can't build in my district? How come you can't give me nothing in my district? And I said, one of these days, you're going to wish you had built in my district. Here we are, 2025. I have 9 developers right now building in my 8th district or our 8th district. I've never seen so much development in the 6th, the 8th, and the 9th. Us 3 have been neglected for years and years. We finally on the right track, finally got people paying attention to us because we got the most land that's not developed. And for people to say that we don't have money, my God, isn't it true that just the real estate tax, the money that comes in is like, what, $525 million? That's not counting everything else. That's a lot of money. And as my people are saying, what about the $31 million that we've not collected from people that decide they don't want to pay because they don't have to pay because we don't go after them? Are we sending a message that we don't care? That you can keep getting by with it? I wish I bought the list, but I have it. You can get it. Anybody can get it. It'll blow your mind to see some of the people that's on there. And after what, 20 years, they're forgiven. You don't have to pay. I like to look into that more because it only goes from what, 2005 to 2025. Oh my goodness. 5, let me see, 10, 15, 20. Uh-oh, that's 20 years. Does that mean they get forgiven too? All those names, 212 pages. We better start doing our job. Us council members need to do our job. And our job is to take care of the people that we represent. It is sad when you go to some of the homes that I have been into just recently. I have pictures on my phone. I have Gail that's been with me a hell of a lot of times. Jerry, Annette, you all know. The floors are sunk in, no heat, no air conditioning, siding coming off their houses. I have more grandparents in my district that's raising their grandchildren because those children had nowhere to go, and the grandparents have taken those children in. And our CAO knows what I'm talking about. He was at my meeting last Thursday night with 157 people there with 15 children. And thank God Dominion Power gave me some bags, little tote bags that I could make bags for the children to carry home with them so they could have food in them. It's sad. And our assessments, oh my God, I think what people heard Richie say at our meeting last Thursday, your assessments are going up and up and up and up. And they have for years and years and years. Tax rate stays the same. Who can do this? Who can lower it? 4 cents? Who? Not the CAO, not the mayor, us. It falls on us. And the mayor should not use the same argument that the previous mayor used. That's not good. I'm sorry. It's on us to lower the real estate tax. We've heard the people loud and clear, and it's not only in our districts. I'm hearing from other districts. We heard somebody from the 1st district. I was with her last night. She had a heart attack. Her assessment was 151. I think it went up $151,000. She lives in the forest. These people, we know that it's an older population. People have medical problems. They've lost their loved ones. There's not 2 people in a household now. Maybe there's 4 because they got grandchildren instead of their husband or their wife. They're still raising the grandchildren. Yeah, tax relief. Okay. Those forms are horrible. And I know it's getting better. But you know what? A lot of people, I'll just speak for my district, a lot of people tell me they don't trust the forms. They're scared of the government. They're scared to put all their information down. That hurts. That just breaks your heart. Then you have people that tell you, I can't fill them out. I don't understand this. I don't understand that part. Gail's got it right now. I got some right now. I got to go take to Monty right now, but she could not get down here, doesn't have transportation. That's what we do. Then bring them down here. I am very, very upset because year after year after year after year, we say we can't. This is not the time. When the hell is the time? Why not now? Why not now? And you talk about collective bargaining. We didn't have collective bargaining 10 years ago. Still couldn't reduce it. Didn't have collective bargaining 8 years ago. I've been back on council since 2006. I tried in 1998 to get collective bargaining here. No, you can't do that. That's before the mayor, before this other form of government, we had a city manager. Oh, don't go there. Don't go there. Well, here we are. We got it. And there's no reason why we can't get all of our city employees. I've seen how hard they work at the libraries, at social service building, at Southside Plaza. I've seen it. They deserve more. They deserve to be in collective bargaining. That's not right to use that and say, oh, you're not going to get collective bargaining. Oh, yeah, we are. Here you are. Go back, and I'm so glad we might have side by side to see exactly where this is money going, that money going, this going. Because I'll tell you one daggone thing, it sure does matter. They say it doesn't matter what zip code. Yeah, it does. Just because I have 23234 and 23224, it depends on what part of my district that you live in that you'll get better services than over here. And I will say right now, precinct 806 is the most neglected, and that's where I live, right off of Castlewood Road, off of Jefferson Davis, or I'm sorry, Richmond Highway, where it's so bad, people are telling me, how in the hell we get a grocery store when we got prostitutes, we got drug dealers, we got this, we got trash, we got tents, we got all kinds of stuff. And see, you know what I'm talking about. No, and I don't mean to point you out, but you and I have been friends for 27 years. You and your wife, you all have seen me fight for my district and for our city. I love my district with all my heart. And to have someone or people to say that we can't do this, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. And I wish to God I could bring 300 to 400 people here. Well, I wish I could take y'all to their homes and you all hear them cry like Gail and I heard them Sunday crying to us, the grandmother with her children. Go in her daggone house where it wasn't prepared, where Elder Holmes or whoever did her damn work did it so bad that her floors are caved in. Her ceilings are still, the roof is still leaking, as she was telling Odie. Others that were there trying to give Odie all this paperwork, and he was right. Reva's a council person, give it to Reva. And guess what? They have been. And Gail and I went there to their homes over the weekend and picked up a lot of information. I want us to, and I thank my colleagues, Sarah and Stephanie, for signing on. And I pray that I can get 2 more. Why not? Why not? And don't talk about the first and the second district, because a lot of them, as I just said, my best friend in the first, she's suffering right now from a heart attack because hers went up $151,000. And you talk about it's going to be, do you understand? I fully don't understand. Okay, your assessments are still going to go up, but in 2028, you're going to get hit double. What does that mean for the poorest of the poor and the middle class? Think about it. They're going to get hit hard too. Affordable housing? That's what people are saying. What the heck is affordable housing? When we got these taxes that we got to pay, we got these high utilities that I met somebody last night, who just moved from Chesterfield into the city. He heard me talking to a group of people. He said, what did you just say? What did you just say? Did you say how much it is? Didn't you know that before you moved in the city? Yes, $1.20. I'm from Chesterfield. What's that, 80 cents? And your utilities, you pay them every 2 months. We pay ours every month. And mine is higher than my daughter who lives in Chesterfield. For 1 month, she pays 2 months. And yeah, I understand we got problems. I understand we got annexed. We were lied to. We didn't get everything that we were told we were going to get. And yeah, I understand the infrastructure is 100 years old. I understand that. But where in the hell is the money? All this other money that's going out the window like a runaway train with all the money just flying out the window. Not right. It's not right. You're hurting the poorest of the poor and the middle class. And yeah, let me just say this. Some of the rich, they're hurting too. Because you know why? Because they've had to take their family members in because they didn't want to leave their homes, but they had to. They had to. How come nobody's screaming and hollering about credit cards going up? How come nobody's screaming and hollering about mortgage rates? When assessments go up, guess what? When you got loan payments, they go up. Guess what else goes up? Insurance goes up. Think about that. But God help us if we don't have water. God help us if we don't have Dominion Power that cuts our lights on. God help us if we don't have a roof over our head. 4 cents, not 12 cents, not 16 cents, not 27 cents, 4 cents. We can do it. We can do it. Also, the property we just bought for $5 million, I want to report on that, please. Over there where the casino was going to go that we didn't get, not going to go there. The voters voted it down. Okay, it's gone to Petersburg. Thank God. They're gonna be rolling, and I'm glad for Petersburg. What do
Ms.
we get?
Trammell,
What?
how much more time would I?
I'm over.
How
I'm
much more
finished.
time would you
I'm
like me
just,
to give?
I'm hurt.
I
I'm
know you
hurt.
are.
When I
I'm just
saw
asking,
my pictures on
how
my,
much more time do you want?
I
me
don't
to
want,
give you?
I want us to reduce it 4 cents.
And
I'm tired of the
I hear that.
BS because it's like every time and I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying this and you are so correct. When we need to find the money, we find the money. I never have forgot those words that you've said.
How much
And that
more
is the
time?
God's
How
honest
much more
truth.
time do you
Thank
want
you.
me to
I'm
give?
finished.
Thank you. Okay. And thank you, Ms. Trammell. And I don't think there is a lack of appreciation for the challenges that our citizens face in the city, all over the city. We are an old city. We have lots of challenges, and it costs more to live in the city. No question about it. It costs more to live in the city. It costs more for everybody to live in the city. And our needs are extraordinary for many, many, many reasons. A lot of the reasons why in the 8th district, in the 9th district, in the 6th district, the annexed city of Richmond, the cost for infrastructure, the cost for decent sidewalks, drainage where you can get out of your car and walk in your house without walking through a wet ground front yard, sidewalks, $500,000 just for one side of the sidewalk in a block. And a lot of decisions that have been made in the last years that I have been on council to address employees' salaries that work for the city, that do work for the city through contracts, that we are working aggressively with the unions to get them at the minimum wage for the city. There are healthcare, lack of our quality of equal healthcare versus what the city provides versus what the state provides. So there are policies and changes that have been made over the period of time that I've served on council to move us in providing better quality service, more cost effective, paying out employees competitive salaries, and then looking at the costs, and I think that Mr. Donald, one of the things that we want to continue to work on in this city is creating the type of fiscal policies upfront. So if, we know that it costs more to live in the city. If we continue to add on additional taxes, additional fees, there may be good causes, but if we're adding another penny here, another penny there, there needs to be a policy of a sustainable cost of living in the city of Richmond that is competitive, at least within the region, and a strategy for how we're going to do that. And then if we're going to add additional costs, as justifiable as it may be, we need to have a policy procedure of how we go about increasing any taxes, any fees. No. The tax rate is fixed and has been fixed for a long time. The assessments go up. The cost of taxation for real estate is impacted by that. We need to make sure that we are looking at all of our costs, all of our costs. We need a policy that says, yeah, we want to be a competitive employer in the city of Richmond. What is our policy as it relates to increasing salaries? Okay? What is our policy for using general fund dollars to add bonuses and other kinds of benefit packages, right? We need to have a policy as to how we make those decisions so that our taxpayers agree to our fiscal policies as to how we move forward. So there are several things. I heard you say we don't have a cap on debt. True. I've said from one administration to the next. The new administration coming in, typically the capital improvement budget doesn't allow them a whole lot of room to do much of anything because the previous administration have taken the capital improvement budget almost to its ceiling. So it takes us a few years to get to the place that we've got any other capital. We have been fighting at the General Assembly level, and we need the administration and the mayor's support to get the Homestead Act passed. The Homestead Act gives us an opportunity to freeze people's tax rates where they are based on their income levels so that senior citizens, people that are low income, have a freeze on that increase. You still get the increase in the value of your real estate, but you don't have to pay that extra increase in taxes because your real estate value goes up. But we need state approval to do that. And we have asked for that year after year. We need to collectively, with the administration, with the mayor, to influence the General Assembly to allow us to do that because we do have the largest share of families at low income and at poverty levels in the city of Richmond. Mr. Donald, you have said very clearly that we're going to be dealing with a significant cut in federal dollars. We need a political policy procedure process that we become, to the extent that is possible, to be less dependent on federal dollars. If anything, we've experienced in this past few years, the federal government is not sensitive to the challenges that the urban core communities face and the costs that they are intending to pass even more of that cost on to the local governments. And so we have to be prepared to look at ways that we become less dependent on that. And so that requires a policy change. So our collection policy, I mean, it's painful for folk to be saying we have $31 million that we can collect. I don't have those numbers, but we certainly need a policy procedure put in place as it relates to collection. Now, one of the challenges that we just finished discussing with affordable housing is that we use the revenues from tax sales, from delinquent tax sales, to support providing housing opportunities, providing ways to help seniors make repairs to their homes. That's all a part of our affordable housing process, is to help people at lower income levels make essential home repairs. And we make investment in that. But we are also entertaining, is that the way we want to do this? If I have a low income family that cannot afford to pay that tax, do I want to force a sale of that property, or do I want to work with them to make it possible that they can maintain their home and stay in their home? So when we look at delinquent taxes, we want to look at who's delinquent as well and make policy decisions that reflect those that have the greatest need. Collective bargaining. We've been dealing with that for years, of looking at our employees being unionized and getting the benefits and the pay and we've come a long way. Got ways to go. But that costs additional money, and it's a decision that the city has made, the taxpayers have made, that's worth investing in. So we do not want to stop that. Ms. Trammell has put in a paper to reduce our real estate tax every year. I'm hoping that we'll see that day come to be true. The amount of the reduction, it varies because depending on what your tax, how much taxes you pay. However, the issue at hand is that we do have a budget that we have adopted, and we have adopted a budget at $1.20. I have supported Ms. Trammell in previous years for a reduction. And for the majority of the people that I am concerned about the increase in their taxes that they'll be paying, it's a small dollar amount. You know that from the rebate that we did last year, right? And how long it took to get your rebate, if you got it, and how much it was. So hopefully with the fiscal policies, Mr. Donald, we will look at ways of how it become a sustainable cost to live in the city of Richmond. And we'll look at it across all taxes, all fees, all expenditures, and our policy of increasing our expenditures so that we can get there. I would love to see a reduction in our personal property taxes, business taxes, real estate taxes, all of those things. But at the current time, with what we have, the budget that is before us, backing into a budget that we just adopted, that we spent hours trying to find an additional revenue in for services that are needed that we were not successful in getting there, taking an additional $17 million out of a budget that it took us 3-4 months to finally get to adopting, is something that hopefully with resetting the tax period, we will find ways to reduce many of the costs to the city. But I am not supporting Ms. Trammell this year in your $1.16 reduction, but I am going to work closely with you and with the administration to look at ways that we can make the city cost effective and sustainable. And those are big decisions that have to be made, and they're policy decision. And so at this time, I'm going to give Ms. Lynch an opportunity to speak because she's been waiting, and then I'll come back for other questions and call for a motion on these papers as well. At this time, Ms. Lynch.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick question. We've historically had double-digit surpluses every year. What, and this is for Mr. O'Donnell, what do we predict our surplus will be this year?
You doing, council member? So right now it's a little too early because we're going through the actual audit now where we'll be able to have those numbers, but we are not predicting a double-digit surplus, which is actually one of the reasons why I'm adamantly in support of keeping the numbers the same. So currently, you'll see the third quarter report during Ms. Shelton's presentation to you today, and it's actually projecting now, we believe is going to even out, but those quarter three numbers were actually negative. So you're not looking at a double-digit surplus.
Thank you. I mean, if we built our budget off of, I think it was 5.5%, something to that nature, and and the average assessment came in at 6%. It's about $9 million. Is that between 7 and 9, maybe? Point is that we are going to have a surplus, correct?
Well, I think we're in the midst of audit, so I wouldn't say that. I don't think that's an accurate assessment. I think once we complete the audit and we report on it, we'll be able to let you know exactly where we're at. But I would not feel comfortable pontificating on something that we're not certain of. But we are not currently projecting to have a double-digit surplus.
Okay.
Any additional questions, Ms. Lynch?
No, ma'am. Just we'll look forward to seeing what the surplus is for this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Donald. At this time, I'm going to entertain a motion. We'll deal with.
You said I could come back. Okay.
2
I
minutes.
don't care if you give me 1 minute.
Okay,
Let me just say this. When rents go up, when landlords start raising the rents, because these assessments going to be too damn high, and you think they're not going to you don't think, how they're going to pay all their bills? They're going to raise their rents. When restaurants, beauticians, your nail salons and all that go up, because all of that's going to go up, okay? And we know that. Food goes up, everything. Telling you now, Odie, you've been to several of my meetings. You have seen the outcries of those people there. I don't know what other people have. I don't know what they do, how they get whatever, but you've seen my people. I represent the 8th district. I represent, like I said, some of the poorest of the poor. And for this not to happen, not 4 cents. When we can go back, and I'm quite sure you and the mayor and your administration could go back and look at everything and say, well, wait a minute. This was done in the years before. We're going to change it. There's no reason why this is not the time right now to reduce this by 4 cents, as I've said over and over. 9 developers. Where's all that money going? That's more money coming into the city. And every time they get one apartment built, somebody's already in it before they can go over here and get this part built. And then y'all gonna sit up there and lie to the 222,000 people in the city, not you, my colleagues, to say that this is not the time and we cannot do it. Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can. If we could find the money for her affordable housing and to pay what we had to do by law, which was the right thing to do, found the money for that, can find the money for this. Go after the $31 million and $525 million alone just from that money from the real estate tax coming in that people are paying, struggling because the homeowners are the ones that are struggling, especially the seniors that have been here through the good, the bad, and the ugly, to stay in their homes.
Ms. Tramble, 1 minute.
Go ahead, Odie.
Thank you. Mr. Donald.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
So listen, you're not going to get me to argue with you about making sure. No, I just mean in general. I think the council is united on the fact that we want to lessen the burden on our taxpayers. I'm with you on that. You're not going to get me to disagree with you on that at all. Me and you have 20 issues that you bring forward to me, we're probably going to agree on 18 of them. And so on this one, the reason why I'm recommending staying the same, and I actually wanted to come back to Councilmember Lynch's question because I got some clarification. I answered it, but not fully, because I think she had it in reverse. So now I understand what she was asking, that we base it on the 6%, but we actually, based on the numbers we're looking at, is actually closer to 5.5 or 5.7. So it's less. So that's why you're not looking at that double digit increase. She was talking about the assessment. I apologize, council member. I didn't follow your question, but that is, again, the answer to your question. And then for you, Ms. Trammell, again, I've been out, I think I've been to your meeting twice, and I shook hands with every person that wanted to shake my hand and talked to anybody who had questions. I was supposed to be there for 20 minutes. I stayed for 45, no problem whatsoever. And so, again, we just have a tough job, and y'all have the toughest one. I ain't crazy. I know that. You have to make a decision where you're balancing how to pay all of the bills, increase revenue, not on the backs of taxpayers, at a time where the federal government is providing us less money that we've been dependent on. So I don't want to minimize the decisions that you have to make. But we are responsible for keeping our house in order and making sure we can deliver those services to our residents. So again, my position is the one that says we should do the 120 because I think it's in the betterment of our residents. I also, again, always defer to the council because the council has to bear that decision. And I just believe with the data and the information that I'm providing you, I'm hoping that I'm compelling you to make this one. And again, Councilmember Lynch, I only wanted to provide that clarification because you asked me a question, and as I was walking back to my seat, I realized what you were talking about. And again, the expectation and the budget was built on the 6%, and we're closer to the 5.5 or 5.75, which means less, not more resources.
Thank you, Mr. Donner. Can we get a motion on the papers that are before us? Motion on each one. So the motion is which one of these papers we want to move forward to council with a recommendation. We need to make it. Yeah, they can pull it both of them up, but we have a duty to do a recommendation. So I'll make the motion. I'm motion that we recommend to the full council support for the paper at $1.20, considering the fact that we have adopted a budget with that revenue projection in this current budget that we just adopted. And that my motion is to recommend we stay at the $1.20 to support the current budget that we've adopted.
Second.
Do I have a second? Call the question, Madam Clerk.
Excuse me. Did you just say, so what, you're not going to forward both papers? You are? Because someone just texted me, they couldn't hear what you were
We
saying.
have a motion on the table, which I made, to move forward ordinance number 207 at $1.20. Call the question, Madam Clerk, and we'll come back to you, Mr. Tremble.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 6, ordinance 2025-207 to council with a recommendation to approve. Ms. Lynch?
Yes.
Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robertson?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, motion ordinance 2025-208 forward to council. No recommendation or recommendation. We can't approve. Forward to council.
With no recommendation? Or
Do we have a second for that motion?
is it a recommendation to approve or no recommendation?
Ms. Motion is to no recommendation to council. To move
Thank you.
forward, I'm going to second that motion. I'll make a alternate motion.
Do we have a second?
I don't hear a second, Madam Clerk. Okay,
Ms. Lynch?
our
Second,
motion
sorry.
is-
Second.
Ms. Lynch.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 7, ordinance 2025-208 to council with no recommendation. Ms. Lynch?
Aye.
Vice Chair Jones?
Aye.
Chair Robertson?
No.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, at this time, patients that we have listed for the evening, Madam Clerk, beginning with the fourth quarter financial statement from Ms. Shelton.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee.
Good afternoon and welcome to this, re-welcome back to the city of Richmond. We're glad to have you home.
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm Letitia Shelton, Finance Director. I began my public sector experience right here with the city of Richmond as working in the Department of Public Works and Public Utilities. I then got afforded the opportunity to move to DeSoto, Texas, where I served as the finance director there, and then being promoted to the city assistant city manager. From Texas, I moved back to the city of Charlottesville, where I was the chief operating officer. And upon leaving there, the city of Virginia Beach tapped me to be their finance director. Today, humbly, I stand before you, back in my hometown of Richmond. And as a citizen and a leader, I share in the mayor's vision of a thriving Richmond. As he has stated on numerous occasions, the work starts with setting clear goals and accountable standards within our city government. In accepting this role, I bring decades of finance management experience, integrity, and most of all, an appealing personality. This will complement the mayor's vision on becoming a thriving city. Oh, I forgot to switch the screen. There I am. All right. Under my leadership, with each of these localities that you see before you, City of Charlottesville and Virginia Beach, we received annually an unmodified audit opinion. This opinion is often referred to as a clean audit and is issued by external auditors when they conclude that the financial statements presented a fair financial position of the city's performance. This opinion certifies that the auditor has obtained sufficient appropriate evidence to support that the finances are in compliance with federal and state accounting standards. Now that's important. Also, in each of these cities, we applied for and received national accreditation from the GFOA Award of Excellence. This too exemplifies financial management services. And finally, with the city of Charlottesville and Virginia Beach, as you can see on the screen, we maintain Moody's, Fitch, and SP, the highest rating, AAA. It is my goal and this new administration, for the city of Richmond too, to share in these success. Right now, the finance department is currently working with 5 external auditors, CLA, which stands for Clifton, Larson, and Allen, to complete the city's annual audit as of June 30th. All reports and schedules are due to our auditors by November 7th. From that report, the mayor will be before you on November 15th, as stated by City Code, to present our estimated general fund balances as of June 30th, 2025. On Monday, December 8th, the external auditors will be before you to present to City Council their annual audit findings, which will be an unmodified opinion, a clean audit. At that time, City Council will also receive the annual capital report for the fiscal end, June 30th, 25. As a part of the year-end closing, the finance team is working on the year-end audit process of recording all income and expenses for the fiscal year just ended. This includes adjusting entries, reconciling accounts, and finalizing our financial statements. It should be noted this data is not finalized and it is unaudited.
unaudited. Therefore, at this time, in good faith, I am unable to provide you fourth quarter projections or confirm that there is a surplus for June 30th, 2025. What you see before you on the screen, as Mr. Donald mentioned earlier, is the third quarter projection for the city. At that time, it's projecting a shortfall of 3.8 million. Please note that this presentation is not the report that you asked for, but going forward, our plan is to provide you a revised version of the monthly finance report that you currently get to include projections and variances so that you can be better aware to make better financial decisions for the city. Just to give you a little preview of what I've been working on in my first 30 days with the city, I've been meeting with staff. Of course, we've been preparing for the audit and working on the audit. I've been engaging with stakeholders of the city, and I've also been reviewing the technology in our reporting capabilities. Those results will be shared to you by the CEO a little later. In closing, my charge forward is not only for my finance department, but for the city government as a whole, is to be more professional, be accountable, we're going to be competent, and we all are going to work together as a team. And I'd like to take some words from a former CEO who says, one city, our city. So with that, any questions?
Ms. Lynch, you have any questions or comments?
It appears that she's no longer online.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. No, this is not the request that we made. We recognize that you have been back home with us for a short period of time, and we want to honor that time. And we know that there's a lot of work that is pressing that has to be done within this timeline that we're speaking of. And we certainly want to get our audit done and get it done on time.
Yes, ma'am.
We've made great progress.
while we identify those additional resources. In terms of status for the mixed use phase, we've had a groundbreaking earlier this year, particularly on the infrastructure work, some of the infrastructure work that sets the phase for some of the vertical development that we'll start to see commence in 2026. I'm trying to change to the next slide here. Here we go. This is just a recap so you can clearly see on the screen here, particularly the pieces of the project that are publicly financed versus the pieces that are privately financed. Much of the stadium development, the roadways and infrastructure, and of course the community amenities are anticipated to be publicly financed. That's about $166 million in investment across 20 acres. The privately financed portions are, of course, that mixed use portion. That's the retail, the hotel, the affordable housing development, and some of the office and commercial uses. That is more than $300 million of investment across 12 acres. And I want to focus a little bit here on specifically the stadium construction because we have seen, I think, a fair bit of progress there. Steel topping out earlier this year, concrete poured. We are still on track for substantial completion in February 2026. We've had just over $130 million in stadium bonds issued as of September 2025, over $77 million of that spent. And so all of this means that we are still on schedule and on budget to complete the stadium portion of the project. And on the next slide, I want to just point out, I think these are really interesting and really striking photos that show the construction progress from an aerial view, particularly of the stadium site. So in the far left, you can see the aerial view, what the site looked like back in October 2024. And then we go over, you can see what it looked like in January 2025. So you can start to see the site really clearing out. And then we've got a view from April 2025 and then a view from June 2025. So to talk just a bit about the roadways and infrastructure work, part of which has already begun. So the scope of that work is encompassing of underground utilities. We've got 4 new streets, pedestrian crossings, street lights, street trees and plantings, and the signalization work. And this is that scope, as I indicated, that we've had a couple of pieces of it on the infrastructure work that has broadened, I think, since the infrastructure was initially conceptualized. And so that's where we will have a bit of work in the coming months to make sure that we've got enough funding on the table to cover that infrastructure work. But we had Road B, if you look at the diagram, the road that is at the bottom of the diagram, and then what we refer to as Road J West. Those pieces of infrastructure have begun already. We are anticipating that they will be completed early next year, and then pushing into 2026, we'll start to see that additional infrastructure work, the signals, the other side of Road J West, what is on your diagram as Road J East, roads A and C, will be the work that will push forward in 2026. And that's really all of the
work, that 2026 work is the infrastructure that we need in order to create those developable pads that will be the mixed use development. The infrastructure work right now, of course, is focused on the roads that are intended to make sure that fans have access to the stadium, the new stadium when it opens next year. So just a bit on the private development. We talked about this a little bit before, the hotel, the retail, both affordable and market rate units. We're anticipating starting to see that vertical development also start to push out of the ground in 2026 with delivery dates starting in 2028 and moving all the way up to 2022. So the things that you see sort of in the lighter color purple on the graph are the things that are delivering earlier. The darker purple are the things that we can anticipate delivering toward 2032. And then just to look at where we are on our community amenities, the park, the Muse, and in a second, I'm also going to talk a little bit about all of the progress as it relates to solar on the site, which we interpret as a community amenity as well. But looking at those community amenities as they've been conceptualized for the site, and we'll be looking at anticipated delivery of 2027. That is, of course, contingent on the demolition of the Sportsbacker Stadium, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end in terms of a critical path item as well. So just to talk a bit about solar, because this is really a special part of the site. The new solar array, including over 2,000 rooftop panels, 5 solar-powered carports. This is enough power generated at peak output to service 250 Richmond homes or businesses within the Diamond District. So construction is going to commence on the solar portion of this project in 2026. I want to give you a view just for what we expect the park is going to look like on opening day, because obviously we're going to experience opening day next spring, but a portion of this development, particularly the mixed use phase of this development, is still going to be in progress. So just a view to what fans will be able to expect on opening day next year. If you look at where the park is situated, fans driving to the park are going to enter through the same access points that they would use today. They're going to park in the same parking lots. And so the northern side, Road J West, which if you go back to the map on the previous slide, you'll be able to see clearly what Road J West is. It's the road that's to the left of the map. There are going to be sidewalks that will also accommodate pedestrians sort of entering the park area on foot. The area to the right, of course, is still going to be an active construction area on opening day for next year. And so we just want to set expectations for what people will see as they're entering the area, as they're entering the new stadium next year. Just a bit about some of the milestones. This slide is 2025 milestones, and so we've seen quite a bit happen this year already with land acquisition closings earlier in the year to support the mixed use development. Of course, I talked about some of the infrastructure, Road B construction having begun earlier this year as well, the topping out ceremony on the actual stadium and other infrastructure work proceeding. As we move to toward the end of this year, we can anticipate seeing the completion of all of the underground utilities. That part is imminent. We will be able to see construction on some of the remaining roadways begin. We'll talk about this on critical path, but the acquisition of the sports backers parcel and disposition of additional parcels to our partners at Diamond District Partners to facilitate the mixed use development. Then as we move into 2026, we'll see infrastructure around the stadium complete. Well, of course, we'll see the completion of the actual stadium. We'll experience opening day, and we'll start to see over the course of 2026, as I said, some of those vertical developments within the mixed use portion have construction starts and construction starts on the community amenities. So I want to spend this slide just talking a bit about MBE participation and what that's looked like on the project to date. Just in terms of the different pieces, we've got the mixed use phases where we've got some early contracting and consulting work underway, both on the infrastructure and preparing for the vertical. And obviously the stadium is at 60% complete on construction. So in terms of contracting to date on those different pieces, on the mixed use, we've seen about 26% awarded to MBEs to date, contracts awarded to MBEs on the mixed use, and about 9.6% on the stadium. In terms of the actual spend to date, we are looking at 39% on the mixed use and 8% on the stadium. I will say, just regarding these numbers are numbers that come from reporting that we've gotten from our development partners. Pat Foster and the team at OMBD have not yet certified these numbers. They are going through that process now. And so I want to set that just as an expectation, because I think as we continue to come forward and provide updates on what the MBE participation is on the various phases of these projects, the different portions of this project, if the numbers shift, it may be because we're getting the reporting, but Pat's team, Ms. Foster's team at OMBD still need to certify those numbers. And ultimately, our reporting is our briefs are going to reflect what OMBD has certified in terms of contracting and spend on this particular project. In terms of workforce for the mixed use, we've got hiring events that are underway for that portion. And then on the stadium, there have been hiring events where to date we're counting about 400 residents participating in those events, resulting in 14 local hires. I do want to just lastly on this slide point out the disparity study, which you had some discussion about previously during this meeting. because that disparity study is also, particularly for the stadium development, informing how the team is moving forward in terms of MBE participation. What I think we've learned as a result of that study and sort of best practices on stadium development is that the percentage that we should be looking at is closer to around 18%. And so that is something that as we sort of go through certifying these numbers, sort of continuing to work with the development team, particularly on the stadium development, not the mixed use, but on the stadium development, we're going to be looking at that 18% number as what we'd like to see them meet at a minimum, understanding that we still want them to push toward the goal that was set for them originally. So in terms of critical path items, I talked about this before, so making sure that we fill that public infrastructure gap. Again, that the scope of infrastructure changed a bit over time, mainly due to the additional signalization that got added to the scope afterwards, and some stormwater improvements that were added to the scope afterwards. And so my anticipation is that we should be able to go into 2026 and provide some additional context, some additional information about exactly how we are planning to fill that gap, sort of looking at what we have available through CIP or our regional CBTA funds. We are also, I think everybody knows, in active negotiations over the acquisition of the Sports Backers Stadium. And so I won't say too much about that because I hope that we are on the tail end of those negotiations and we'll be able to move forward with that expeditiously because obviously we want to stay on track for a Sports Backers Stadium demolition early next year. And so we are working to get to that deadline, to meet that deadline. The last issue I'll talk about is an issue that I think we recently reached resolution on, and we'll be able to talk about how that resolution will be implemented. And that is a sewer issue that emerged with one of the adjacent property owners, RVA Performance Fitness. So happy to report that Diamond District Developers has reached a resolution with the fitness, with RVA Performance Fitness. I think it's a resolution that is actually going to improve their water and sewer operations to their business. And we will be able to say a bit more about how that resolution is going to get implemented in the future. But for now, the two parties have reached resolution. And I think that is it for the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Jones. Okay, well, thank you very much and welcome to the city and to economic development. I'm looking forward to an opportunity to sit down with you to have a more detailed conversation of our adopted economic development plan for the city. As you've heard previously in our meeting this afternoon, the challenges that we face as it relates to the cost of living in the city. And we believe that the area that we have a greater opportunity to address diversifying our revenue streams is through our economic development opportunities. And we feel that we we have a capacity for more large-scale development as this is, but also I'm glad to hear that our community business quarters and other quarters in the city of Richmond that we feel like we are lacking revenue because of the status of our development in those areas. And so I'm looking forward to the opportunity to not only talk more about the presentations that we would want to be given in the future as it relates to our investment in economic development and our return on our investment, and also the forecasting that we want to be able to do so that we can start having a more defined, sustainable path of revenue projection. This is a huge development that you seem to have spent a lot of time getting your arms around it, because there are times when I don't feel like I have my arms around it as tightly as I would like to. But we do want to move to the level where, in addition to programmatic and stages of construction, that we really focus on the dollar investments and what is our leveraging of our investment and our return on investment, because this is a pretty big chunk of money for a city that is facing the kinds of challenges that we're facing. And so when we obligate ourselves to make this kind of investment, it's difficult for families that are struggling to just put a meal on the table, to pay their utilities, to look at a report and see the public sector making this level of investment. And so when we meet, I would also like to explore with you our strategy as it relates to hiring locals, hiring minority businesses and local businesses, and also rethink our community benefit package, because Richmond disparities is not only true with our disparity with minority participation, there's a huge disparity as to hiring locals, as a huge disparity in not being able to use our job and our investment, public dollars investment in economic growth to benefit our strategy of how we reduce poverty. And so those factors are not working as effectively as they need to be. And when community benefits tend to create more economic wealth building and wealth building opportunities in locations of the city that already have the greatest wealth because of public policy and the money that we invest in certain sectors. And we put in solar, fabulous, love it. But the folk down in the lower part of the south side and the public housing communities that can't afford to pay their rent, our community benefits, we need to have a conversation about the value of the investment of new revenues being generated, being invested in areas that we have neglected, and not it only being for the community is going to benefit, the businesses in this area are going to get more jobs, more business, generate more revenue, but then what we glean from our public investment, I want our community benefit agreements to start thinking about how we invest in those areas that we have disinvested in, and that we have policy that have created the disparity, and so that the folk that live in those neighborhoods can benefit from this major investment and have a grocery store and have some other things that they've done without forever. And if we continue to have our disparity of economic growth and investment of public dollars in the more wealthy section of our city, and not, as Ms. Trammell mentioned, with the casino, which was an opportunity for economic growth in neighborhoods that need it, we voted that down. wouldn't have cost us much of anything from a public investment. This development, we're looking at, you know, we're not even going to mention the number, the millions of dollars again.
Yeah.
And then if the community benefit is is continue to greaterly impact those neighborhoods and elect the neighborhoods that are missing. Councilperson Jones and myself and Ms. Trammell, who house the majority of the poverty in the city of Richmond, we can't continue crying for our neighborhoods and allowing our economic development strategy to not look at opportunities. I know there's a big push, but I want to put that out there because I think from a policy perspective, we're looking at ways to not only talk equity and face disparity, but put strategies in place. And I'm hoping that with the legislation that we just adopted or will be adopting as it relates to the MBE disparity study, that you guys are working close together. So the program that come back shows us that we're looking at creating investments to address the disparities that we have in the city. So that's a mouthful. Thank you very much. When we go to lunch, we may not get back until midnight, but we'll enjoy.
I'm gonna block my day off.
All right.
And I appreciate that, and I look forward to the conversation. I will say that one of the things that was really attractive to me about the city of Richmond was that you were having this conversation that was about not just growth for growth's sake, but growth, from a perspective of equity and from a perspective of evening the playing field for the communities that need it. And Ms. Ebert was exactly right. Part of my sweet spot in my career has been sort of looking at communities that have been underinvested in, and I consider it to be my job to sort of see the vision before anybody else can really see it, and to get other people there to the point where we can start to see that investment. I should have taken the time, the same as Ms. Shelton, to just talk a little bit about sort of where I came to you all from, but from Prince George's County, where I oversaw the economic development cluster there, and insisted that those agencies, particularly that business investment and affordable housing and arts and amenities, that they all work together in a plan that is people first and people centered. When I was in DC, I started in DC running the city's public housing redevelopment program, and left as chief of staff of the economic development office there. And so your sort of sentiments and your view on this and the view of the city of Richmond on this is aligned with my sort of worldview on how we should approach economic development, that it's people first and it's not growth just for growth's sake, that it has to work for the people who are here. So I look forward to it.
Appreciate that greatly. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, how are we doing? Are we finished?
We do have something on the agenda for discussion item for introduction. Tanika Jackson, the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Finance and Administration. And then I believe Ms. Letitia Shelton have already provided her introduction.
Okay. All right, we'll take care of that.
Good afternoon. I am Tanika Jackson. I'm the new DCAO of Finance and Administration, and I'm excited to be a part of Richmond, the city of Richmond, and serving the Richmond residents. I've only been here a little over a month, so I came in right after Ms. Shelton, and we got to talking and bonded really quickly. So her values are pretty much in alignment with mine. But a little bit about myself. I a public servant to the heart. That is all I've done since I've had my career. I started out in the military and worked myself through that time period and transitioned over into a nationally local nonprofit, Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And then soon after that, I etched my way into local government. So I've worked for multiple county and city governments in the metro Atlanta area for the past 20 years, working primarily in finance and administration, experience in budget, experience in grants management, experience in finance as a whole. All I can say is that I have a passion for finance. Some of the challenges that were presented to me upon my arrival were things that I was interested in helping navigate and help. So when you speak to policies, when you speak to improvements, those are things that's sort of kind of like my love language. So I'm really hopeful that I'll be able to help facilitate things along. I really do thank the employees that have given me such a gracious, warm welcome since I've arrived here, and I do look forward to working with not only the leadership team but also council members. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Welcome. Madam Clerk, there is no other items on the agenda.
No, ma'am.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your support and your help. I appreciate the staff getting us ready for these meetings, and this meeting is adjourned.